It is 5:15. Are we ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Give me one moment to start the recording.
Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone in our audience. We appreciate you attending our Site Plan and Architecture Review Committee of March 11th, 2026. Jessica, can we get a roll call?
Yes. Member Whale?
Here.
Member Hamilton?
Here.
Member Dickens? Here. Chair Rosado?
Here.
Vice Chair Donaldson is not present. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Jessica. Do we have minutes?
No minutes today.
No minutes. We'll skip that. I see the microphone's working much better than last time, so I appreciate that. Next agenda item, so comments by the public. These are for non-agenda items. It seems like we may have a participant. Yep, just approach the dais and, approach the podium and state your name.
Mike Smith, 4 North Main Street. I'm recently been contracted to work on a project that's the address. So it's on 301 East Pine. So it's currently the little check cashing place that used to be a burger stand, and they want to do an office building. I know there was a design that was presented to you, and during the review, it was recommended to move the building. My client, he operates the check cashing business. One of the main problems is that he wants to continue operating, as long as he can, while this project takes place. So where we have the current building, well, the design that was presented, we would be able to do quite a bit of work before we would have to shut him down in his business. And to move the building, to the street that was recommended, is going to be a pretty serious hardship on him to continue his business. And I know, the municipal code states it's more of a recommendation than an absolute. And I know it was based upon, they got the trash enclosure out front, barking. And I think we can accommodate, I think we can move the trash enclosure, over to the side. There's a pretty large planter that's up near the building. There's also a consideration for, now that everything is digital, I know for myself, we used to, and you know that too, Pete, we used to print, that plotter would be going 100 miles an hour. You got to print 20 sets of plans. And right now, everything's digital. The plotter sits vacant. And it's the same thing with everything else. You don't generate that much garbage trash. Can we go to just the rolling garbage cans rather than putting a dumpster out there? I don't see the 4 offices generating 3 yards of trash. Be nice to keep the garbage truck out of that parking lot anyway, because it tends to tear up the pavement. But that's where, can there be a consideration that we can accommodate the building pushed back from. And I know along Pine Street, as you come in through the residentials, there's all 20 feet in front of those. Yeah, even as you move down and you cross Washington, those commercial spaces, just on the other side of Washington are set back also. So it's not like everything is pushed out to the street there. We're not going to be, a whole lot different. And there's also, the idea of that mural that they want to put up. It's going to be more visible, if we push it back that way. So I'm just asking for consideration if we can, reevaluate it to have the building, like it was originally presented. So.
Great, thank you, Mike. I don't think this is the right forum to have a dialogue back and forth with the applicant, but
Okay.
You're more than free to have that conversation with the planning department.
Okay.
They'll bring that to the Spark Committee.
Okay, well, I talked to Tim, and he said that in discussion with, and I don't know if it's with you or John, to actually to bring it to you. So so what would be the process from here on in? So it would be directly with the planning department?
Yeah, I think I'll defer to staff on this one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is that-
there has to be an agendized item in order for the
Okay.
committee to take any action. Right now, in this non-agenda, it's just hearing you out. We can take comments and set something.
Okay.
Staff could bring something forward if there is an action to come back to committee.
Okay, and it would take an action to redo the conditions comments, correct?
Or if working with staff, you can bring a new application or modified application forward that could come forward as a new item.
Okay, so I'll work with,
And in general, staff does a great job of basically working, having that dialogue, producing a result you like, and then presenting to us something easily digestible and.
There we go.
And hopefully we can expedite that process. Yeah.
okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Appreciate your input. All right. Moving along to agenda items. All right. Tonight's Site Plan and Architecture Review Committee is here for review of a 70-foot high, double-faced, freeway-oriented electronic pylon sign at 1255 South Beckman Road. The applicant is Arrow Sign Company, file number PL2021-008 SP. CEQA determination is exempt per CEQA guidelines section 15332. And I'll hand this off to Cynthia to present the project.
Yes, thank you, Chair Rosado and Commission, Spark members. As you mentioned, this is a freeway-oriented electronic sign. It's essentially a billboard that will be located at the Jeep dealership just off of Highway 99 on Beckman Road. Here you can see the aerial with the location. That's north-south there, Highway 99, just to the west of the site. To the north is an auto dealership, and then, of course, this site is part of the Jeep dealership, and there's vacant parcels directly to the east, and the restaurants, hotel, Starbucks, Taco Bell, McDonald's to the south there. The proposed project is a 75-foot tall double face, so it'll have electronic signage on both sides. Freeway-oriented pylon sign. There is going to be a steel pole that holds it up with landscaping around the base. It'll be on that northern portion of the Jeep dealership. It's technically Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram dealership. The message board will have 376 square feet total, and with 114 square feet, we'll have the dealership logo, and the sign will be advertising the dealership 2 vehicles on Highway 99. Here you can see the site plan along the top portion there. You can see Beckman. If you turn this image and rotate it to the right, north would be at the top. But so the left side there, you can see the north arrow is where the sign would be located, kind of in the northern corner of the triangular shaped parcel there. Here you can see the street view where the sign will be located inside of the existing dealership parking lot. And here is the view from to the east of the project site and to the west. So it's basically just next to Highway 99. So here's a little background on how we came to allow this. In 2020, so 6 years ago, the property owner applied for a variance and a use permit for the freeway-oriented electronic pylon sign. Unfortunately, at that time, the municipal code did not allow these. So the municipal code was amended in the following years to allow a limited number of these in the city of Lodi. It's taken quite a while for them to get here because there were negotiations and review by Caltrans. They heavily regulate these types of signs. So Caltrans took several months to go back and forth. And then there were easement issues with public utilities, so they've had to move the sign multiple times to the present location that you see in the packet before you. The municipal code does allow 2 of these in the city. There's distance requirements for them, and it requires a development agreement to be executed between the city and the developer. That development agreement Last year went through Planning Commission and it was approved, and then it went to City Council for approval. The city attorney helped draft that development agreement. The development agreement does include standards for the sign itself, including allowing the city a specific number of turns in the sign. So say there's an emergency and the city has an evacuation, the city can ask the property owner to update the sign to include evacuation routes, or if we want to advertise, concerts in the park or that sort of thing, the city will be allowed to have a certain number of turns on the sign. Again, the sign was approved by a development agreement or a DA. The city council ultimately approved that in 2025, over a year ago. The project is consistent, and the sign is consistent with the design standards and specifications in both the development agreement and the Lodi Municipal Code. In the project, when it went to CalPERS, part of the reason why the city wrote the ordinance the way it was the city would provide in some of the benefit financially from the advertising on the sign. In this case, Caltrans, because of the location and distance from the freeway, does not allow off-site advertising. So they are only allowed to advertise on-site for the dealership. However, there's a clause in the development agreement that states if they should in the future, if anything should change and they would be allowed to advertise off-site and they do start making a profit from the sign, the city gets a percentage of that profit as a revenue sharing agreement in exchange for allowing the sign to be placed. So the sign will have the Lodi logo that has the grapes integrated into the logo. The ordinance allows 86 square feet, and that is maxed out at 86 square feet. Similarly, the electronic portion of the sign or electronic message board meets the standard, is maxed at 376 square feet, and then the dealership logo cabinet is maxed at 114 square feet. Here you can see the elevations. They're really for perspective. You can see the truck in the bottom left corner there. That's how tall the sign would be next to the vehicles that are parked in the dealership. Again, this is a pretty large billboard. That's why they're limited in the city and only 2 of them allowed. And then you can see the logos for the dealership kind of on the bottom portion of the sign with a mock-up of the Lodi logo on the upper portion. Here you can see the sign and how it will look from the perspective of the parking lot where the dealership is located and where vehicles are sold. It's essentially a giant TV or television. I'm sure you've seen them driving up and down the state. A similar concept. And then the view on the right is what it would look like from the southbound 99 lanes from across the freeway. This is difficult to read, but I believe it's in your packet also, that it includes all of the specifications and vendor specifications. The sign is being built and produced and installed by Aero Sign Company, which I believe we have a representative from Aero in our Zoom call today if you have any questions for them. Here you can see a graphic of what the footing would look like. Again, they would have to apply for building permits if Spark were to approve this sign, and these will go through extensive building permit review just like any other construction project. The base would have 6 feet wide and 40 feet deep concrete footing. Here you can see in the site plan where landscaping would be laid out around the base of the sign. The city requires these to have some landscaping, so if you were on the ground in this parking lot of the dealership, you wouldn't just see a giant pole in front of you. It's going to have landscaping and bollards protecting it so vehicles can't back up and run into the sign and knock it over. The landscaping will include drought-tolerant plants, excuse me. As you can see on the right side here, those would include dwarf coyote brush and blue chalk sticks. The findings that are required by Lodi Municipal Code Section 17.40.020E are that Spark must find the project complies with the municipal code, of course. It doesn't interfere with surrounding land uses. maintains orderly, harmonious development, and provides high-quality environment through durable, appropriate design, and has been reviewed in compliance with CEQA and Lodi's environmental review guidelines. Again, here's a summary of Spark findings and what each of those findings would imply. The project is required to be consistent with the design standards, and we feel it does, that it does meet the intent of the development agreement and the ordinance, and that there is sufficient footing to support the sign, and we don't feel that there would be any safety issues or adverse land conditions surrounding the impacts of the sign. We feel that it's an appropriate location, being adjacent to Highway 99 in commercial and industrial zoned area. And so therefore, we feel, given the materials and all of these considerations, that it would be appropriate for this site. Staff reviewed the sign under the Class 32 exemption under CEQA guidelines, Section 15332, as an infill development project. The site is, it's applicable, this section is applicable because the site is completely surrounded by development. It's within a site of no more than 5 acres and doesn't impact habitat or anything. It would be basically the base of the sign would be the main impact on the ground. Therefore, that concludes my presentation. I am available for questions, and I believe we do have the applicant in Zoom if you have any questions for them. Thank you.
Great, thank you for the presentation, Cynthia. Call to our members. Do we have any questions? Member Whale, questions of staff?
Yes. So the planning commission, we passed this, okay? That's what I
That's correct.
thought.
Yeah, the development agreement.
All right. And then, and you said something about Caltrans for advertising. So they prohibit, what are they?
Off-site advertising, so they are not able to advertise for off-site businesses. Katie can clarify.
So it's, they don't, their authority to regulate it only applies when it becomes off-site advertising and it becomes a electronic billboard. And it's like a shrubbery and frontage issue along their pathways. So as long as it's not off-site advertising, it doesn't trigger their jurisdiction. And they wouldn't have approved it. So as long as they're not doing that, Caltrans doesn't need to weigh in. But if they do in the future, then they have to go through and get a Caltrans approval.
Thank you.
Yeah, can I have clarification on that? Because I thought I read somewhere in the development agreement that they could advertise for gambling? Do you have the development agreement by chance?
I'll have to pull it up.
If I remember correctly, they cannot advertise for, first of all, they'd have to get approval from Caltrans if they were to do offsite.
Correct.
And then they would not be able to advertise for gambling, for alcohol, for other vice-type things, but they could advertise for a casino, for events, or food, or other things, other than gambling, if I remember correctly.
So this sentence says, notwithstanding the foregoing, gambling establishments may advertise non-gambling/gambling services.
Right, for like events, or their restaurant, or things like that.
So if they were a gambling establishment,
Yes.
then they could advertise their own gambling.
If a dealership was a gambling,
No, if the,
so if like the card room down the street wanted to advertise a potluck, they could do that?
no, that would be off-site of this location. So if a gambling establishment bought this location and set up their business at this location, took over the DA and everything,
got
and
it.
their own
Okay.
gambling activities were occurring, they could advertise their own activities.
I see. So this is covering
Any potential
something in the future.
operator in the future, yeah.
Understood. Okay, thank you. And then, Member Dickens, do you have any questions for staff?
Just a little clarification on the safety concerns, and you said those were all met. Does that look at, like, I know it's a big sign, big distraction right in that area, a lot of merging going on there, so that was all looked at?
Yes, so when, this has been kind of routed over and over again, over the past 6 years. So, Public Works has reviewed it, and it's gone to all city departments and Caltrans, for the same purpose. So, if there were any issues, and as I mentioned, they've kind of revised both the sign and the location, multiple times. So it's kind of ping pong back and forth over the last 5 or 6 years to all the different departments, and they've tweaked it and resubmitted, and there's been additional comments and resubmitted. So all of those issues have been addressed to date. So that's why we're here today, is we've kind of worked all of those potential issues out. And then if you have any specific questions, I think because we have the applicant online through Zoom, they may be able to address additional information about like the brightness of the sign and how that works.
Yeah, if they could give a little background on the lights
Okay.
brightness.
Member Hamilton.
I guess a couple questions. When we say there's only 2 allowed in Lodi, is that have to do with the freeway frontage or just throughout all Lodi? Because it seems to me that there's other dealership signs on Beckman. There's that big industrial crane operation, which has a huge sign as well. Haven't we already exceeded the number of signs, or?
It's specific to the electronic sign.
Gotcha.
And so the city, interestingly, if you're not aware, also owns the White Slough property out on I-5. And so it's so it's specific to the freeway-oriented electronic billboard. So this would apply to I-5 or 99, which the city does own, property 1,000 acres or so off of off I-5, Interstate 5. It could be anywhere in the city limits, and that area over off of I-5 is technically actually Lodi city limits because that's where our water treatment facility is.
And specifically for digital signage and the other.
Yeah, electronic.
Doesn't qualify. Gotcha.
Electronic freeway-oriented, do we call it, it's a billboard, yeah, freeway-oriented electronic billboard.
And then my next question has to do with the Lodi logo at the top. Who owns that? Who's responsible for that? If Lodi changes their logo, has an idea about colors, is that on the city or is that on the owner of the sign?
The owner of the sign would be responsible for the logo, maintenance, or any changes to it. And that is something that you could provide input on tonight if you didn't agree with the logo or had some feedback on that.
I'm assuming that there has been discussions to make sure it kind of matches our particular logo, because I know we've gone through several logos over the history of Lodi and that it currently matches. Is that true?
I don't believe it was dictated to them that the logo should look one way or another, but I think that what they presented was similar to the city logo, so I can't say that it specifically matches the current logo. We could ask the applicant about that, but we did not force them or request that they specifically match the same logo of the city, because technically it's not a city-owned sign. It's on their private property, owned by a private property owner. So through this process, through Spark, you do have the ability to provide feedback at like specific color or the logo to some degree. There are some regulations with signs, like they have some constitutional protections with the extent of which we could like dictate as to what's on the sign and what messages are allowed on the sign or how they look to some degree. So there's a little bit of leeway there, I believe, as far as color and maybe the logo for the Lodi specifically, but not for the dealership.
Is it specifically a condition of the DA that it has to be a Lodi logo, or is that at the discretion of the owner that they decided that they wanted to put the Lodi logo on there?
The Lodi logo was referenced in there. This is not our current logo, but we can get them for the final printing of that, the current version of the city's logo.
And I guess the other part of my question is it, per the DA, is it to always in perpetuity be a Lodi logo? Or is it just the decision of the owner just happens to like the Lodi logo and is putting up there now and may do something different later?
Yeah, I believe it specifically calls out the city's logo.
If I can interrupt, actually, that is the dealership's logo.
the dealership is called Lodi CDJR, and that's his logo that's consistent with all his printed material and on his license plate advertisements.
I'm gonna, sorry, sir, I'm gonna interrupt you. We will be opening up for public comment, and then we will ask you to join the discussion. And that's
Okay.
what's gonna happen here shortly, but I appreciate you providing some input. We'll continue that conversation.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess I will hold that question for that section.
Fair enough.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, then we will open the public hearing. Okay, so I understand the applicant obviously is maybe, is that the applicant that was speaking, or is that the building owner or the designer of the sign? Is that Arrow Signs? If you can introduce yourself for us.
Yes, my name is Neil Duffy. I'm an account executive with Arrow Sign Company, and I've been working with Leonard Harrington, who is the property owner and the owner of the dealership.
Excellent. Thank you, Neil. I'm just going to go around the dais here and see if our members have questions for you, and if you could just respond appropriately.
Great.
To cover or to answer their questions completely. Member Whale?
None for me right now.
Member Dickens?
I think are you able to elaborate on the brightness and all, on the light, the structure itself, what you guys found?
Sure, the brightness of the sign will be dictated by the time of day. At nighttime, it really goes to the functionality. If the sign is too bright at night, it's unreadable and it is really uncomfortable. So the brightness at night, it is guided by by sensors, and it'll be approximately 20 to 25% of the brightness during the day. So it really goes to readability. And that's automatically set through sensors and can be adjusted if it's found that it's too bright.
Okay, thank you.
Member Hamilton?
Yeah, just to follow up on the Lodi logo. So it sounds like that the content of that portion is dictated by the owner and not by the city. The city has no influence over that. Is that true?
Yeah, that's not a city logo. That's his logo for the name of his franchise.
Gotcha.
So that's correct. And just to clarify, what's in the DA is the exhibit, which lays out the design, including that. So it doesn't specifically reference city logo, but it points to that design.
Gotcha. Thank you for that clarification.
No more questions from the committee here? Okay, that closes it. Mr. Duffy, do you want to discuss the project anymore? Is there anything you care to share with us that we haven't asked already?
No, I think all the details have been covered, and I know that it was summarized. The project has been moved around a lot, and so we finally found a place that satisfies the ownership as well as all the public utilities. And after 6 years, I know the owner is ready to would love to see it come to fruition. So happy to be here today.
Excellent. And for the location, just to clarify, and I did hear our planning director state that the sign is against Beckman Road.
Yes, it is. The footing is approximately 130 feet away from the fencing on the property.
Of the freeway?
Correct.
Freeway fencing? Okay.
So it doesn't really hang right next to the freeway. It's significantly away, and that positioning was due to the existing public utility easements.
Understood. Great, thank you. And we really appreciate when applicants show up and are able to answer their questions from the committee. So thank you very much for being present tonight.
Excellent.
I'm going to close the public hearing. And if there's any more questions from the committee to ask the staff, otherwise we'll ask for a motion. Oh, we do have a
I
question.
do have a question.
Member Will.
Daisy asked about lights. Is there something in the city about how bright it can be? There was something, because I remember we did some signs for churches and things like that.
They said at nighttime you can only have so many
Lumens.
lumens or whatever it is.
It's in the development agreement.
Pardon?
It's in the development agreement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that one was incorporated into the development agreement, and it does require it to be dimmed in the evenings.
Yeah.
Just confirming.
I could find that, I think, quickly.
Section 8 of the DA on page 3.
Thank you. There it is. So sunrise to sunset, your daytime is 7,500 lumens per square meter, and then nighttime, it drops down to 500 lumens per square meter. So the drop is significant, and it sounds like it's on a photo sensor. So even if it's 12 o'clock, but it's dark and stormy, if the photo sensor reads that it's dark out, it'll dim those lights automatically.
Okay.
So do we have a motion? I'll call for a motion.
I'll move. I move that the Site Plan and Architectural Review Committee find that the proposed project has been reviewed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, and that Lodi Environmental Review Guidelines, based on the city's determination that the project is exempt under CEQA Guidelines 15332, Class 32 Infill Development Exemption, and approve site plan and architectural review for a 70-foot high, double-faced, freeway-oriented electronic pylon sign at 1255 South Beckman Road, file number PL 2021-008, subject to the conditions of approval, of which there are none.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jessica, call for a vote.
Member Will,
Yes.
Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Member Dickens,
Yes.
Chair Rosado,
Yes.
passes 4-0.
There you go. Mr. Duffy, congratulations. Thank you.
And thank you for attending again.
We'll move to regular business. I guess this passes over to Cynthia. I would like to state congratulations. Not yet, maybe soon to be. Sorry.
We'll see.
Okay, we'll see. All right.
We'll see. We don't have any upcoming Spark items that are agendized yet, so
Just want a clarification, the last item, there was a conditions of approval that was included as attachment E in the packet. So I don't know if our motion said no.
I said no, so would you like us to vote again?
Yes, so if we can just
that.
go back and clarify that one to make sure it's included.
All right.
And we bring up the, I didn't memorize it, sorry. I know, exactly.
So just for the
you're looking at me like,
record,
Give me just a second
we're gonna re-vote on this because there is some conditions
There
of
are
approval.
And what specifically were those conditions?
We don't have to state them. I think it's
they were attached.
it's attached.
Okay.
Subject to.
Standard prior to building permit requirements, most of it was included in the DA regarding the dimmers, project landscape plans.
Yeah.
Okay. I move that the Site Plan and Architectural Review Committee find that the proposed project has been reviewed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, and the Lodi Environmental Review Guidelines based on the city's determination that the project is exempt under CEQA Guidelines 15332, Class 32 Infill Development Exemption, and approve site plan and architectural review for a 70-foot high, double-faced, freeway-oriented electronic pylon sign at 1255 South Beckman Road, file number PL 2021-008, subject to the conditions of approval.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
And I'll call the vote.
Member Will,
Yes.
Member Hamilton,
Yes.
Member Dickens,
Yes.
Chair Rosado,
Yes.
passes again 4-0.
No, excellent.
Thank you all for taking that moment.
Yeah. So no regular business from Cynthia. Do we have questions from the committee about any projects that may have been approved that we're not seeing progress on?
Actually, I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I had a rumor that we were going to hear about Sacramento Street sometime soon. Is that true? Is that coming up related to WOW?
Possibly, I think there's something coming up in the future at a city council hearing.
Okay, not for Spark, but for city council.
Yes, I think there's some steps they have to take first, so,
Gotcha.
yeah. So I think there may be an item agendized in the coming month or two. I can't say what it's related to, but it's something in that area.
I'm curious about, and I can never remember the name, Lakeside?
Lake House.
View, Riverside?
Lake
House,
House.
yes.
Lake House.
Where do we currently stand with that project?
They have submitted for their building permits. They are in review for the residential portion. And so their consultant suggested that before constructing the hotel, they construct the residential piece because the residences are more amenable to construction noise rather than hotel residences. They don't, want folks going out and yelping about the construction noise staying in their hotels. So they're doing, they flipped their phase 1 and 2, and they're doing the residential piece first. But they did submit those permits, I think about 2 or 3 months ago.
And
They're
any
in review.
significant changes from between our previous review and any economic considerations they had in their actual plans?
I think they have the same number of units. There may have been some slight adjustments that were minor based on where like public utilities were or something once they started actually going through plan review. Just small little tweaks, but we're going through that review process, so I don't know off the top of my head what they are, because they're working through, with building permits, sometimes things pop up and say, oh, this actually needs to go there, and as they refine it. So if there's anything major, those would be brought back to you. Otherwise, if they're minor, generally we approve those over the counter. If it's something that we don't really have a choice about. For example, they have to reduce a parking stall because they should have, more trash enclosure space or something like that. So those things will go through and kind of there might be little tweaks here and there.
And then I have a general question about, as we're driving around Lodi and we see a development we previously approved and it does not look like what we approved, what is the process by which we address that?
You can
I've done this before.
make a complaint, and we can go back and verify and do a double check on comparison of what was done in the plans. If it's not consistent, then we can do code enforcement action.
Yeah, that's what, I noticed a building years ago that something showed up that wasn't on the design review packet, so I talked to John, we met on site, he reviewed it, he agreed, and the applicant then remedied the condition.
I'm not sure I have it. I need to go back and review the project, but I saw the development and I thought that does not look like what we approved. So I may be coming back to staff with that.
Question for you, this one has stalled a long time ago. This was the kind of the food trucks, shipping containers over off of Lodi and Sacramento.
Sacramento, yeah.
What's happening with that?
We are in pending litigation on that one.
Oh, okay. What was the other one? Lake House, Sunset Theater. As far as our scope of reviewing projects, I was surprised to see the sign come forward. Happy to review it. And we don't review single-family homes. Is that correct?
For large subdivisions.
Yeah, so
Yeah, so,
subdivisions,
yeah.
correct. The
Yeah,
single families, we
large
review that.
subdivisions, yeah.
But if someone just wants to remodel their house, put addition on there, we're not reviewing that. Is there a reason that is occurring?
Generally, single-family homes would not be, just a home on their own would not be subjected to site plan architecture review. I don't think that's typical in most jurisdictions unless it was like a historically designated
Historical.
property or something like that. Spark previously did not even review subdivisions, but that was a change that our former director, Della Monica, implemented because of the quality of subdivisions was questionable in some cases. So he amended the code to allow Spark review for large subdivisions also.
It seems like I've read something like anything larger than a duplex. Is that true? Is that the criteria for Spark? Seems like there was a threshold as to how many.
Yeah, triplex or larger
Yeah.
Triplex, okay. Got it.
from a multifamily perspective. unless it's a subdivision. We are working on and planning, working with the consultants to amend or craft an ordinance for historic preservation. And as part of that ordinance, the proposal would be that Spark would be the committee that reviews items such as landmarks or structures of merit, that sort of thing. So we're working through that right now. That'll take several months to prepare an ordinance, and we will bring that back for feedback and input in the coming days. We're kind of looking at what that looks like and how it'll play out and what roles Spark would have. But the general proposal at this time, just in early discussions, would be that Spark would be the body that would hear any items that would be routed through that ordinance, such as landmarks.
I'm happy to hear that. I would request that Spark get some training before we review.
That is
I mean,
actually, yes, on the list.
So above and beyond, read the ordinance, because there is going to be a lot of subjectivity, I think, in that review process. So it'd be nice to have some kind of guidelines and like what other municipalities do and that type of thing.
Yes, we chatted with the consultants yesterday, in fact, and we kind of went through some of those items, like what's on our dream list, and they're gonna start kind of creating a framework to present to us of what could be included, not just even at the drafting point yet, but they're looking at, we would follow like Secretary of Interior standards, and then they would provide training as to like Secretary of Interior standards, or guide us through that process to provide training. So they were questioning what body would be more appropriate, such as Planning Commission or Spark, or if we had an existing body. So they were asking us, lots of kind of questions to kind of format what that framework would look like and who would be reviewing and what responsibilities would be.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions to staff? Nope, we're good. All right, we'll adjourn. 5:58. Thank you.